This is episode number 2 with Heath Armstrong. Welcome to the Quarter Life Comeback Podcast, the show that empowers you to become the hero of your journey from 25 to life. I'm your host, Brian Tier. Now let the comeback begin. Hey, what's up, Quarter Lifers? Welcome back to the Quarter Life Comeback Podcast. And today I'm super excited to be interviewing a fellow podcaster and very good friend of mine, Heath Armstrong. Heath, he was in a pretty bad place at one stage, and we'll cover more in the show. But things like waking up on a random apartment floor with a bloody nose and having these really insane dreams that he was going to die and more sort of nasty stuff like that. But through taking the wisdom and knowledge of guests that he'd interviewed, he started implementing this in his own life, and he completely changed things around for himself. So we'll get into that and much more goodness in the show. Things like daily habits, how to overcome a negative situation, or when you're stuck in a rut or paralyzed by fear, that type of stuff. But for now, sit back, relax. This is a bit longer show. We're going to split it into 2 parts. So make sure you subscribe on iTunes so you get the second half of the interview when it comes out. But for now, just enjoy it and let's go hang out with Heath. Heath, how's it going?
Just killing it, man. Fist pumping. Got up like super early. I've been on this kick where I'm trying to wake up at 4:30 every morning because I used to be able to do that. And then I fell off for like 4 months. And I think I was just overworking myself. And by work, I mean domination in every angle. But the last couple weeks, I've been sticking to that extreme, like early wake up, and I feel really, really awesome. So I'm glad to be here and fist pumping like usual.
All right, sweet. Yeah, and just sort of like knock out some really high quality work before the day's really begun.
Yeah, if you're not, whoever's out there, if you're not waking up early and it's such a simple principle. I mean, honestly, I think creating habits is one of those things that you don't understand how powerful it is until you actually pay attention to how powerful it can be, like if you're actually engaging with it. And I didn't start really doing morning routines until, I decided to quit the whole drinking aspect, which I know we're going to get into. But when I started doing that, I realized that, you can get as much done between like 5 and 7 a.m. And it's quiet, man. It's beautiful outside. If you walk out in your front yard when you first wake up and look up at the sky and you see those stars, it's so quiet out. There's nobody out to disturb you. Your mind just is like this beautiful ball of awesome. And then you can go inside and like from 5 to 7, I mean, whatever time it could be. I know other people work differently. Some people are night owls, which I used to be. And some claim they couldn't switch that around. But I think you really can change your kind of mental alarm clock. But man, to get so much more done between 5 and 7 than I used to get done within like a whole week of evenings combined, it makes you feel really good. And that's kind of the staple for like really being able to get stuff done that helps you go in that direction of creating the life you love, man. I know you're doing it. And I know from doing all the interviews on my podcast and talking to other people, that's one of the core principles. Like all of these amazing people who are basically living the life of their dreams, they're all doing it. I mean, all of them. I barely ever come into contact with the ones who are like, I sleep till noon. Like that doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Yeah, and especially guys that are building like a passion project on the side of a normal 9 to 5. Those few hours in the morning are crucial. That's like your time. But we'll get into daily habits and things in a little bit. Definitely keen to explore that. But I want to rewind a bit and go back right to the beginning and find out how optimal living became a part of your life.
Oh, man. It's kind of it kind of seems like it was like a blink, and I went from there, like from being just completely distressed and depressed and lost to where I am now. But I think that's just because it's been such an insanely exciting, like fun ride. I kind of went with the whole fist pumping thing because I would notice that the times that I was the happiest, I was at like concerts. And when I'm at concerts and I'm really into it, I'm fist pumping. And that was kind of my escape back then, because my entire life I did stuff that I thought that I was supposed to do, right? Most of us go to college, or maybe we don't go to college, but we end up working jobs that we don't like. And I did that, and I didn't know any better. And it really, I think, has a much more drastic effect on people's health than they think, because so many of us are getting into college and feeling like we have no idea what's going to happen when college ends, even though we're getting a degree. What are we going to do with it? We think that we're going to be able to get some job, and then as soon as we start making money, it's going to make everything so much better, and that we're going to be happy all of a sudden. But that is such BS, man. I don't know what you're. Am I allowed to say bullshit? You might have to edit that out. But
Yeah, I'll
dude,
see what iTunes say.
so yeah, I literally I went through these stages of just ultra kind of like dark places where I felt that I was happy, and yeah, I could have fun with my friends, and I wasn't like suicidal or anything like that. But I mean, I just drank like profusely. I mean, I did drink when I was in high school and then early college like a normal person, but then it got to a point, man, where I was literally looking at myself saying, I'm going to go home and buy a liter of whiskey, and I'm going to drink all of it within the next day or two. And it got to a point where your friends are doing the same thing, because everybody's kind of in the same position, and you're killing like a handle every 2 days or something. And that's a lot of money in general. But at the same time, man, like I had no idea how powerful the body was to be able to lead us to where we want to go. And so you're just numbing that. I mean, like the most beautiful creation that you have, right? This like gift from the universe, this computer that you have in your head that can do all these miraculous things, and this just unbelievable body that can like literally, I mean, we can do so many things with it. Like it's crazy. I was just wasting it away drinking like profusely. There was a time that I woke up in an apartment. I'm not kidding you. This is like I woke up in an apartment on a floor. There was no furniture in the apartment. There was nothing. I had a nosebleed. I honestly thought that I was still like dreaming or something. I didn't know where I was. And then I kind of started to realize that I was like actually awake, which really freaked me out. And I didn't like piss or poop my pants or anything, but I did have a nosebleed. And that was I think that was like rock bottom, where I was like, okay, I had my wallet with my money. I wasn't robbed or anything. Nothing felt like really that weird. But how did I end up on the floor of an apartment, like completely a place I had never been before? I'd been to the complex before, but I'd never been in this apartment. And obviously it was vacant. And man, I just like really looked at myself and had to, I think it was a combination of things. I met a girl who really opened up my eyes to being more free and get away from this whole, I can't do stuff that I want to do because then I won't make money. And then if I don't make money, then I'm going to, end up pooping my pants and crying the rest of my life, and everything's going to be terrible. But she kind of opened up the reality of that, actually you can do stuff for less money and still be happy. You just have to figure out a way to do it. So I started looking at what were the things that really excited me, and what were the things I'd never done that could get me to those places that really excite me. And man, I didn't know anybody. Like I had no friends that weren't doing the same stupid shit that I was doing. Like they were literally probably worse than me, to be honest. And that's probably why I felt okay about myself, is because I'm.
So they had the nosebleed and the piss pants.
I don't know about that, but yeah, probably worse in some instances for sure. Man. I mean, I've heard I know for sure some stories that were worse, but I think I looked at the world, which I hadn't ever gotten out and traveled, even though I was always the type of person that was like, yeah, I want to travel the world. But I just didn't do anything about it. There's just too many people like that, because I think inside we think we can't. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to literally the only option I have, because I can't just like drink a little bit. I'm going to have to quit drinking like completely, cold turkey. And now I'm fine, because I did quit for an entire year, Brian, and like it was cold turkey, and I looked at it like life or death. Like this is going to either make me so much better, or it's going to kill me, and then I'm just going to end up drinking more again. And I started having these really crazy dreams that were all flooding around this 2015 date. And I know this sounds really weird because I generally don't remember any of my dreams, but I was having these dreams that I was going to die in 2015. And now that it's the end of 2015 and I'm still alive, thankfully, I kind of, and I've changed my life 100%. I mean, I've done all these amazing things. I was able to save, $15,000 in the first 5 months of this year and pay off my debt. I was able to do that podcast where I interviewed hundreds of creative entrepreneurs all over the world, build an e-commerce side business where I'm able to get rid of my job. And this is all stuff within a year and a half. And I think that dream that I kept having, that reoccurring dream, was literally something telling me, look, if you don't change the way you're going about life, you probably are going to die, whether that means physically or mentally, just being stuck in misery for the rest of your life, doing something you don't like. That is just as bad as death, right? It's a slavery type of lifestyle. And so I was like, okay, well, I need to change something. And that's why I decided to quit drinking and to fix these problems. Like, I'm going to create a network of people doing awesome things all over the world. And I had no clue how to go about that, man. Like, I mean, like, if you think about somebody asking you, and I know that in the United States, it's probably worse than other countries, because I think we are really sheltered from wanting to travel and meet people around the world, because they like teach you that here. They like try to suppress you and say, oh, the USA is so much more superior to everybody else. And it's so stupid. And I think that when I realized that I've got to get out and see other parts of the world, how do you do it? Well, you have to create a network of people. And so that's why I started the podcast, but I had no clue how to podcast. I mean, I just did it.
Yeah.
And I think people don't do what the fear thing comes in way too much, and you just have to do it. I was so scared, man. I had no clue, but I knew that if I connected to those first couple people and just reached out and asked, as soon as somebody said yes, then I was stuck and I had to do it, right? Otherwise I would just look like a coward. And I went big right off the bat. So that was one part of it. I don't want to get too deep into why I started that, but I wanted to create a network of people around the world so that I would be able to travel, but also learn how these people were living the life that they loved. I wanted to dissect that, not only to teach others how to do it along the way, but mostly when I first started was just to teach myself how to be a better person, how to be a healthier person, and how to enjoy life to the fullest. And I can't express how grateful and happy I am now because of all that. Like, it's been unbelievable, man. Like, the gratitude. Every night I write down my wins list, and it's just like I write and write and write and write every single day. I can remember, and it takes habits, right? Like, I go through everything that happened throughout the day and find something good in it and write it down, and it's incredible. But yeah, I mean, I can have, like, I like craft beer, so I like to sample craft beers and stuff now. I don't have a problem with drinking anymore, and I just, like, it doesn't, I know if I have more than like 3 beers, I'm going to feel like the world's biggest piece tomorrow, so I don't do it. Like,
man, thank you so much for sharing that. There's so many directions I could go in here, but just to basically sum that up from the situation you were in, it was basically a realization that this is not the path you really want to be walking, and then having someone to encourage you that sort of more things were possible, and then also like the waking up from that, or having that dream, the realization that something needed to change.
Yeah, that was really weird, man. It was that, like, because when I woke up from the one, like, the big dream, I don't know. I've tried to research what this is because I was really scared when it happened to me, but I couldn't move. Like, I woke up and I felt like I was paralyzed for like 3 minutes, and I was really freaking out, thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm paralyzed. Like, I'm not gonna be able to move again. And I remember, like, and this was when I was still in college, like in my bedroom. I think I had just graduated or something. And I started researching it. And I guess there's a state of mind you can be in that's like deep in your consciousness, in a dream state that you normally would never wake up out of directly. Like, you come through different levels of dreams before you'll wake up so that you have movement. And occasionally people can wake up in this really deep state where you don't have control of your limbs yet again, like your mind hasn't come back around. And so I woke up in that state, and I mean, that's the closest explanation I can think of. And dude, it was so scary. Like, cause that just like multiplied how, kind of fearful I was of continuing in the direction. Cause I thought that was even more of a, hey, wake up, like this is what could happen. I'm like, oh God, this is horrible.
Yeah. Something decided to send you the message you needed.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the Artsy Now podcast that you've created interviewing creative entrepreneurs, and I'll link to that in the show notes. But I'm interested to find out where the creativity side of things came in, and also how because I know you still work a full-time job, but I'm interested to hear sort of the nuts and bolts of how you built that up on the side, in case people listening have a passion project they want to work on, but they don't quite want to quit their job. Could you dive into that a little bit?
Oh yeah. So the difference between, if you don't want to quit your job and you just want to have a side passion project, this will work for you too. But I wanted to quit my job from the beginning. And like, I took a career, I went to school, and basically, as boring as it sounds, I designed like mix designs for concrete mixtures, and like, it's all in that engineering field. And I'm selling chemicals that go into concrete. And I wanted to leave my job, despite this being one of those jobs that while you have it, everybody's like, oh, I wish I had your job. You can work home, and like, yeah, but I'm driving 8 to 10 hours a day, and it's miserable. And I'm talking to people that I don't really have any interest in talking to. You're wasting the best energy of your day doing something that you don't like. And you're hanging out around all these people who have done that their whole life, and they think that that's the only way. And if you start dreaming, and if you start talking about maybe there's something else out there, like, haven't you ever wanted to travel the world, or haven't you ever wanted to do this? And like, why would I want to do that? And it's just like super depressing. But to be able to build something like that while you work a job, I think there's a couple different things that you have to take into account. And the big one is you have to really want it. Like,
yeah,
you have to really, really, really want it, because I went from somebody who would get nothing done except for drinking, when I got home from work, to having to figure out how can I build this kind of online platform with really no experience while working and still hold all the pieces together. I have a little bit of time when I get home from work, but I also have a house to take care of. I also have all these other things, just lifetime things that you have to do, right? We all have to live life and be responsible in some way. And I started the morning routine, which is just gigantic because that increased productivity in the morning. But every single night, man, I had to come home and I had to go directly to hustle. Like, I had to go to Crush Town, like just beast it out and work, and you have to be positive about it. And there were a lot of people that I interviewed that I think kind of kept pushing me on with the mentality of like, just keep doing it, and this is where you're going to get. And doing a podcast is great because even though a lot of people try to sell that it's going to make you a bunch of money and make you rich, like that's probably not likely. I want to say that it's 100% possible. It's probably not likely, but what it is going to do is change your life, because if you do it interview style and you talk to people, you are going to learn so much from them that it's more valuable than any amount of money you could ask for. And that network is too. And so I think that I was like really just, I would set up these batch times, like how, and I think I did like eventually put like together a small ebook on how to make more time to do things, because that's what I had done. I was like, okay, I have no time. How do I make all the time to do all this stuff? Like, I'm going to interview 5 to 7 people a week when I first started, and I'm letting them schedule into any day of the week. And that slowly went from mayhem. I'm waking up at 4 a.m, or I'm coming home and getting on at 1 o'clock in the morning, or, 11 o'clock at night. And whenever these people wanted to do an interview, because that's kind of what you have to do at first. You have to mold yourself to what's available for them. And that got really tiring really fast. But at the same time, it was just like igniting me with energy, because after every one of those conversations, my mind was just blown. And you get better and better at it. And you start to actually become friends with these people. And you start to, so have you noticed, like, you look at them at first like, wow, I would like to talk to them, but I'm kind of nervous about it. But then I'm not kidding you, like 2 or 3 months later, you could be talking to this person every day via text or like group me or
Yeah,
email, phone.
that is so true. And I mean, even us, like when Jacqueline, a mutual friend of ours, what's up, Jacqueline? When she told me about you initially, I was like, yeah, like he's got this huge podcast already, and he's interviewed like over 100 people. And then, I mean, now we've chatted a couple of times, and we're on this call now. And I say to a lot of people as well, especially friends that are kind of like thinking about starting blogs or other projects, and I say to them, like the internet and the online world makes people seem sort of intimidating or like impossible to reach, even though they've got an online presence, which is it's a, I don't know, it's weird to explain, but like it makes people seem sort of
Untouchable, right?
VIP.
Yeah.
But actually, like the whole blogging world and the online world, people are way more keen to help out than most people realize.
Because these
And I know,
people are the same ones who don't want to work, in a
yeah,
suffocating, miserable career job. They wanted to create a life of happiness. And so chances are you share a lot of common beliefs with them. And so it's
yeah, and I
really
know,
easy to connect.
I know Travis from Extra Pack of Peanuts. I think he's a friend of yours as well. He came out to Cape Town not so long ago, and I went and met up with him. And I mean, this is a guy with a huge blog, like full-time living for him and his wife. And
Yeah,
he
it's
was just
awesome.
like, "Yeah, man, let's go meet up." And we chatted pretty much the whole night about online business, which which I apologize to him for. But yeah, he was just super keen to help out and share whatever he knew.
It's because we
Just,
fall in love with it. And I mean, everybody wants to help others get to the same place because they had other people that helped them. And Travis and Jason, Jason's show is Zero to
yeah,
Travel, which is also one of my favorites. They put together that online community, which I joined, which is locationindie.com. They opened it up for membership every once in a while, but I've met some of my best friends through that community that I literally talk to every single day. And then, of course, Jacqueline's amazing. She's an
yeah,
incredible coach who got me. She was actually the person behind me starting that debt campaign. I remember telling her, we sat down on a call one day and I said, yeah, I had already started the podcast. And she was like, well, what's the next biggest problem? And I was like, I have all this debt. Like I can't leave my job because I have all this debt. I have to have money. And she changed my mindset on the way you look at money. And I literally stopped using the word money, although I just said it 3 times for the benefit of who we're talking to. And I started using the term crush credits because I like to look at it as like a point system now, like a game. I was the type
yeah,
of person who never wanted to ask for money from anybody because I felt like I wasn't worthy enough or good enough. And I still do sometimes, but I've noticed if I look at things as like points or credits or games, dude, there is so many points in the world for everybody to have. You can play unlimited games over and over and over again. That's not an issue. And so she literally was like, okay, well, I think you could. I'm planning on saving this money and paying it off by the end of 2017. It was like $15,800 or something. And she's like, no, you're going to do it this year. And I was like, yeah, that's impossible. She's like, no, it's not. You're going to do it. And like, she went and made this spreadsheet for me, which I ended up tweaking a little bit to make it more in line with exactly what I needed. And I'm not kidding you, within I think it was May 13th or something, within 5.5 months, I walked out of the bank and had paid off my basement and car loan and had already saved like $5,400 or $8,400 just in 5 months at the beginning of this year and paid off over half of that chunk just immediately. And I can't explain how good that feels. Like,
oh man,
literally just from her sitting down, making this spreadsheet and making me aware that I am spending points and credits in places that don't deserve them. And I need to build that system up and, create that bank to where I can pay these debts off. And that's what I did. Like, I literally every single day, whenever I had an urge to spend on something, I would, instead of actually buying it, I would put whatever it was that I was going to buy into the spreadsheet. And then I would put the amount that it costs. And I would take that money that I didn't buy with and I would put it into a savings account. And in over 5.5 months, I was able to save that much money. And that is insane to me, because if you would have asked me how much extra money I had after bills for a year, I would have said, well, nothing, and I'd go into debt. Like, like there is no money left. I can barely feed myself. But the reality is there is such an abundance, if you pay attention, that it's insane. Like it's incredible what you can do to train your mind to see these things when you actually really, 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 really want it. If you really want to change your life and you really want it, there's nothing that's going to stop you. Absolutely nothing. Like it just, the universe will fall into place. It's like a jigsaw falling into place, man.
There you have it, guys. Part 1 of the interview with Heath. As I said, super inspiring guy. And a very cool interview. Make sure you head on over to the show notes. It's briantier.com/002, and you'll find links to all the resources we mentioned in this part of the interview. Finally, make sure to catch part 2 of the interview, where we talk habits, morning routines, and much, much more.